brings you to see Uncle Krusty?
Krusty, are you broke?
Yeah, all it takes is some bad luck at the ponies, worse luck in the Bitcoin market.
New to the Oxford Dictionary, 1600.
A digital currency in which transactions can be performed without the need for a central bank. Woody.
What is a Bitcoin?
The opening bell for Wall Street is about to ring. I'll ask you one last question. You don't like Bitcoin? You wouldn't invest in Bitcoin? Do you invest in the stock market at this moment?
So not at this moment. I think it's high. So I have not invested in the stock market at this moment. I have in the past, but I have not at this moment. I think it's high. Okay. Bitcoin, it just seems like a scam. I was surprised. You know, with us, it was at 6,000 and much lower. I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar. Essentially, it's a currency competing against the dollar. I want the dollar to be the currency of the world. That's what I've always said.
All of this is fraud from the very beginning. If you really start looking into Dan Friedberg, this is the guy to look at. This was the general counsel of FTX. Literally, he is caught on a recording discussing the counterfeiting of tokens. Nobody knew that this was the guy that was, the general counsel for Sam Bankman-Fried.
Technically, everyone's still the same place in relation to each other.
These points are like Bitcoins.
No, they're not, because your points aren't going to go down suddenly.
Powering down for duration of boring comedy explanation.
Boy, if I had a Bitcoin for every time I've heard that before.
Now when I went to pay the man, I found Liza's hand right in my pocket where my money was. She's in the jailhouse now, and I'm in the chain gang now. I told the judge to his face, Liza's hand was out of place. She's in the jailhouse now.
All right, well.
It's untraceable, like you asked.
How? Explain.
I used a Ripple exchange to have the fiat currency converted to eCash and then into Bitcoin. I ran the whole transaction through a randomized cryptographic extension at the protocol level, then through a two-tier secure laundry service I know I can trust. No one's gonna catch you, I promise.
Well, a Tampa team is using something called blockchain to change the way that we do business. It's the same sort of technology that brought us Bitcoin, but blockchain goes far beyond cryptocurrency.
Oh, yes, it does. Our consumer reporter, Surbani Banerjee, explains what it is and how a Tampa-based company is bringing blockchain to local businesses.
Blockchain is a digital database storing information in chronological order in blocks that cannot be copied or altered. This makes it great for keeping track of transactions, like Bitcoin, for example.
With Bitcoin, it allows for the transfer of a digital asset where I actually lose ownership of that asset and you now have it. So there's not copies of it made. It actually is a transferable asset in a digital form.
But cryptocurrency is only the beginning. Blockspaces is a female-led blockchain company specializing in helping a wide variety of businesses integrate blockchain into their platforms for tracking and tracing and digital ID.
We are actually working on a project with University of South Florida that's utilizing blockchain-based digital ID for tracking. So it allows these things to be securely and properly tracked.
Blockchain can also help monitor supply chains back to the source.
We actually have a project that's moving through the Senate right now in the state of Florida that is proposing using blockchain for food tracking.
That could help with a recall or health alert.
This is a use case that's been used by Walmart in their supply chain to track mangoes and romaine lettuce, to be able to track that all the way back to its source when it's tracing E. coli outbreaks or food safety.
Blockchain technology can also track credentials, something legal experts say is key in cases like healthcare workers shifting to different facilities.
It creates a ledger of their past credentialing experience so that they can be approved to work in that hospital in a much faster pace. So these are real problems in a healthcare industry, which you can imagine in COVID, how critical that type of use case for a decentralized ledger that just is like instantaneously showing that this particular healthcare provider is properly credentialed.
Across a wide variety of industries, old roadblocks being solved by blockchain. Surbani Banerjee, Fox 13 News.
Bitcoin, totally untraceable.
While dollar bills are traded through a bank, Bitcoin is traded peer-to-peer. That
See, Mom?
means no
Pretty
bank
colors.
can charge you fees.
Fun, right?
No one can freeze
Thanks,
your account.
Zach.
While Bitcoin
So,
transactions are anonymous,
you don't buy Bitcoin.
No, you can. There are currency traders online.
Yeah, one Bitcoin's worth $3.
It used to be $33. People were hoarding.
But that's not how it gets into circulation. You mine it, like gold. The guy who invented it created this program that releases blocks of Bitcoin over time.
Now we're going to learn more about another coincidence between the book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, published in 1900, and U.S. monetary policy in the late 1800s. An article written in 1964 argues that L. Frank Baum's novel was an economic parable about the U.S. Quentin Taylor is a resident scholar at Liberty Fund, a nonprofit educational foundation. He joins us at member station WFYI in Indianapolis. Thanks so much for being with us, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
This argument traces back to a 1964 article in the American Quarterly by a man named Henry Littlefield.
He had looked at this and saw what he thought were parallels, and he patched these together and made a pretty plausible argument that Mr. Baum put a deliberate subtext in there which spoke to the monetary politics of the late 19th century.
Well, take us through some of the items, if you could.
Well, the characters, for example, have parallels with particular groups of people at the time. Dorothy is generally taken to represent a kind of everyman, the kind of girl next door that represents the good qualities of America, kind of trusting and yet able to stand up for herself. The Scarecrow is typically taken to represent the American farmer who was suffering at that time during the economic downturn. The Cowardly Lion is typically taken to be a specific person, William Jennings Bryan, who was a popular leader at that time, Democratic nominee in both 1896 and 1900. And the Wizard, either the President of the United States or the financial industrial interests that were often considered responsible for the hardships people were facing, and the various wicked witches of different parts of the country representing these other kind of malign forces out there.
And what did the country look like in 1900?
Well, it was still predominantly rural. Of course, the cities had grown considerably. There was a great deal of industrial development at that time. But in 1893, there was a crash followed by a depression that lasted for several years, and it was during this time that the political movement known as populism came about, which this Wizard of Oz story is often taken to be a kind of a parallel of populism.
And the significance of Dorothy's slippers. In the movie, of course, they're ruby slippers.
Yes, and in the book version, they're silver. And so we have the image of silver slippers going down a yellow brick road or a gold road. And, of course, the principal issue in that 1896 election all boiled down to the monetary issue, the business of gold and silver as the basis for the currency. And the Populist Party wanted silver to be introduced as a way to inflate the currency, make money more available both for purchases and paying down debt.
The deep web, I've heard of that. Oh, yeah, no, 96% of the internet isn't accessible through standard search engines. Most of it's useless, but it's where you go to find anything and everything. Child porn, Bitcoin laundering, mail-order narcotics, hackers for hire.
How do you access it?
It's actually pretty easy. I can show you if you want.
You know, in Haitian voodoo, Papa Legba is the gatekeeper at the crossroads between life and death.
Yeah, well, I think Bell figured out Papa Legba's real identity. So why didn't you turn him in? Blackmail. He wanted $500,000 in Bitcoins to keep Papa Legba's identity a secret.
Okay. Who do you want to see in a casket first? Your wife or your kids? You leave them out of this. Now it's $2 million. You say another word and it's 4. Same drill, wire the money, convert it to Bitcoins.
Forget Bitcoins. I want a face-to-face. I created a business model from my bedroom that revolutionized an international market and cut violence in the drug trade by half. You're welcome.
Yeah, people are just lining up to thank you.
It's okay. I have a plan. Okay, I have $100 million in Bitcoins. You get me off this plane and past Interpol in one piece, I'll split it with you.
So, Mr. Trump, I read in, articles and stuff about how you recovered from some difficult...
Single greatest corporate comeback in U.S. history.
Okay. You've always, Mr. Trump, compared Manhattan to the Emerald City, to the wonderful land of Oz. So does that make you the wizard?
What are you, in high school? Here in Manhattan?
Yes, Mr. Trump, PS 344.
That might just be the best question I've ever been asked. Does that make me the wizard? Well, sure as hell doesn't make me Dorothy. I mean, come on, she's an idiot. She's in Oz, for God's sake. The most magical place. And all she can talk about is going home. Never got it. Never did.
She isn't coming yet, Toto. Did she hurt you? She tried to, didn't she? Come on, we'll go tell Uncle Henry and Auntie Em. Come on. Some place where there isn't any trouble. Do you suppose there is such a place, Toto? There must be. It's not a place you can get to by a boat or a train. It's far, far away. Behind the moon, beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I?
You're running away.
How did you guess?
Professor Marvel never guesses. He knows. Now, why are you running away? No, don't tell me. They don't understand you at home. They don't appreciate you. You want to see other lands, big cities, big mountains, big oceans.
Why, it's just like you could read what was inside of me.
Yeah.
Oh, Toto, that's not polite. We haven't been asked yet.
He's perfectly welcome. As one dog to another, huh? He's perfectly welcome. As one dog to another, huh?
Dogecoin is getting absolutely primed for the next bull run, and we have so many exciting things to talk about in today's video, including the absolutely explosive level of growth that we can see for our favorite cryptocurrency here. So if we go ahead and look, Dogecoin is currently seeing, just honestly pretty average trading patterns. We're just kind of going sideways in the last week here, with the exception of a couple massive pumps, which are incredibly important to talk about here. Now, naturally, on a Twitter space where over 1.6 million people tuned into, we saw Elon Musk go ahead and say Dogecoin to the moon, and that is what caused this massive spike right there. And since then, we did see a little bit of sell-offs, but we have some other bullish news to talk about right here, because Elon Musk is very active on Twitter, and he just did something that is great for the Dogecoin community. We can see right here that Musk stands for the Doge community. Now, what did he go ahead and do? Well, he went ahead and unbound banned a number of different Dogecoin Twitter accounts that were wrongfully banned previously. So his eyes are currently on the Dogecoin community, and he obviously really cares about everyone who is active on Twitter as well, because it is crypto Twitter after all here. We can see right here that Elon Musk was also very recently spotted wearing a Dogecoin related t-shirt as well. So I think it's fair to say that Elon Musk is incredibly bullish on our ecosystem and his eyes are on us. And with that being said, there's a lot of positive price action that I do think we're going to be experiencing incredibly soon. And if we go ahead and look at the technical indicators on the charts, we can see that the price target for this week can go as high as 14 cents on the bullish side. Now, obviously, that is pretty substantial considering that right now we're at 10 cents. That is amazing levels of gain. We're looking at potentially 50% gains this week alone, guys, just based off of all of the hype and attention that we're currently getting. We're seeing volume absolutely go crazy right now. We're actually above $1 billion in volume in the last 24 hours alone. And a lot of people currently are trading Dogecoin for these short-term factors. But what I think is even more important is the long-term. Dogecoin is looking to get integrated into Twitter. This is something that Elon Musk also talked about on that Twitter space I mentioned earlier, and that is incredibly bullish because that will see potentially tens of billions of dollars worth of Dogecoin transacted every single day. Because a vision that Elon Musk has is he wants to put Dogecoin as a tipping feature and a way for creators to be incentivized on the platform, meaning that if you want to go ahead and donate to your favorite Twitter live streamer, which is going to be a thing, by the way, you can donate to them in Doge, which will add a massive use case for this amazing cryptocurrency. I know I'm going to be live on Twitter. I hope you guys are going to be there too, sending your Dogecoin my way.
Oh, how amazed were you to see your roadster up there with Starman just cruising along with the Blue Planet, and how long will we be getting live views, do you think, from the car?
Well, I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible. And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch? Who, me? I'm not a witch at all. I'm Dorothy Gale from Kansas. Oh. Well, is that the witch? Oh, Toto? Toto's my dog. Well, I'm a little muddled. The Munchkins call me because a new witch has just dropped a house on the Wicked Witch of the East.
Very well. I'll bide my time. And as for you, my fine lady, it's true, I can't attend you here and now as I'd like. But just try to stay out of my way. Just try. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
I'm afraid you've made rather a bad enemy of the Wicked Witch of the West. The sooner you get out of Oz altogether, the safer you'll sleep, my dear. Oh, I'd give anything to get out of Oz altogether. But which is the way back to Kansas? I can't go the way I came. No, that's true. The only person who might know would be the great and wonderful Wizard of Oz himself. The Wizard of Oz? Is he good or is he wicked? Oh, very good, but very mysterious. He lives in the Emerald City, and that's a long journey from here. Did you bring your broomstick with you? No, I'm afraid I didn't. Well, then, you'll have to walk.
Communicate with everybody who voted?
Yeah, I could do that. It should take about 2 minutes. Just PayPal me some Bitcoins when you get a chance.
Give me the pros first for central banking getting into cryptocurrency of some kind.
At one level, it's going to mean that central banks remain in the game. If you look at certain economies like Sweden, where the use of cash is very fast disappearing, central banks may have very little role to play both in terms of wholesale as well as retail payment systems. So this would keep central banks in the business of creating money, although most money in modern economies is really created by commercial rather than central banks. In addition, having a central bank digital currency would put a crimp on illegal activity that is intermediated to cash, bring a lot more activities into the tax net, and it would also make monetary policy at one level somewhat easier to implement. If we all had deposit accounts with the Federal Reserve, which would be one way of having electronic money. The Fed would be able to impose negative nominal interest rates, which it couldn't do during the financial crisis. So there is a lot to be said for having a central bank digital currency, although as you're suggesting, there are some negatives as well.
There's Emerald City. Oh, we're almost there at last, at last. It's beautiful, isn't it? Just like I knew it would be. He really must be a wonderful wizard to live in a city like that.
Well, come on, then. What are we waiting for?
Nothing. Let's hurry.
Yes, let's run. So we'd like you to keep your promise to us, if you please, sir.
Not so fast. Not so fast. I'll have to give the matter a little thought. Go away and come back tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Oh, but I want to go home now.
You've had plenty of time already.
Yeah. Do not arouse the wrath of the great and powerful Oz. I said come back tomorrow.
If you were really great and powerful, you'd keep your promises.
Do you presume to criticize the great Oz? You ungrateful creatures! Think yourselves lucky that I'm giving you audience tomorrow instead of 20 years from now.
Oh.
The great Oz has spoken.
Oh.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. The great Oz has spoken.
Who are you?
Oh, I am the great and powerful Wizard of Oz.
Is that through the Federal Reserve System, the bankers have pretty much taken control of our government. It doesn't matter Republican and Democrat anymore, because they're both the same. Neither one of them are talking about shutting down the Federal Reserve System or stopping the payment of taxes, or any of the big issues that face Americans.
The U.S. is on track, guys. So according to the draft, the digital dollar will be a dollar balances consisting of digital ledger entries recorded as liabilities in the accounts of any Federal Reserve bank. The bill even notes that such wallets should be branded as Fed accounts. Guys, it's coming together. Every government and central bank will be building their central bank digital currencies. I think the U.S. wants to beat China on this because there's political and economic reasons. Obviously, the U.S. dollar being, the reserve currency, they don't want to lose that power, right? So there is a power battle here. So think about that. And crypto, this is going to build more interoperability for crypto. It's going to get people to understand, hey, money can be digital, because there's still naysayers who think crypto is a scam, a Ponzi scheme, fake internet money, right? There's still people, the masses, who think that. They don't understand. But if the government puts out the narrative and the education saying, hey, guess what? You can have the dollar in a tokenized version in an app or whatever it may be, that opens up their minds and understanding to cryptocurrencies.
And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is getting me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to.
As one dog to another, huh?
Close your eyes and tap your heels together 3 times. And think to yourself, there's no place like home. 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 But anyway, Toto, we're home. is my room, and you're all here, and I'm not going to leave here ever, ever again, because I love you all. And, oh, Auntie Em, there's no place like home.
There's a natural overlap between body hackers and the blockchain movement. And here at Body Hacks 2019, a 2-day conference in Austin, Texas, I'm planning on joining these couple hundred people who can officially call themselves cyborgs by getting something implanted too.
So I've just watched a bunch of videos about getting implants, namely the magnets under the fingers, and they use a scalpel, and there's a lot of blood, so that was a little bit much.
For me though, it'll be much less gruesome. I'm just getting an NFC-enabled microchip implant. It's housed in glass, about the size of a grain of rice, and so it fits inside a hollow 14-gauge needle. The needle goes in, the implant gets pumped out, the needle comes back out. It hurts about as much as giving blood or getting a piercing, and it gets injected most often between the thumb and index finger. And it's secured by this blockchain. That's the implanter's joke. Some attendees had programmed their chips to open RFID safes and doors, unlock their phones, and send their contact information to other phones, and some had even hacked their way into creating an authorization for accessing their Bitcoin holdings. That last use case, that's what I'm looking for. So on the last day of the conference, I sat down and a minute later excitedly exclaimed, "I'm a cyborg."
Thank you for your cooperation.
The implant I got, the VivoKey Spark, currently allows users to send an NFC-enabled phone to their profile page or to whatever website they choose. For the test, and to shamelessly promote my content, I set the implant to send a phone to the Bitcoin at 10 website.
It did in fact take me to Bitcoin at 10.
Can I try?
Yes. Now we'll try with another person's phone.
Wow.
Cool, huh?
Next, I set it to take my phone to my Receive Bitcoin QR code, making it easy for people out and about to scan that code and tip me some crypto.
$2?
I guess, if that's all you're willing to give me, cheapskate.
And in a week or so, VivoKey will be launching a new API that will allow users to program the chip to act as an authenticator key. With this, I should be able to request that every time I want to send or transfer Bitcoin out of an open source wallet, it'll ask me to scan the chip to validate that transaction. And that way, the chip will act as a unique security measure that might make my hand as valuable as Clean Eyes in Minority Report.
But seriously, don't take my hand. I don't have that much crypto.
A whiz? What's a whiz?
What's a whiz? Oh, darling, he's the ultimate. The ex-quotient, the new math, the common denominator, the main man, the head honcho. Bottom line, honey, numero uno.
But how do I get to the Emerald City?
Oh, just count your blessings and cut your losses and follow the yellow brick road.
The yellow brick road?
Yeah! The yellow brick road!
Ta-da!
May I welcome you to the Emerald City?
green. It means you got mean bread.
An announcement from the great and powerful Oz.
Send up the one with the silver slippers.
Hi, Kelly. President Obama just finished speaking at the South by Southwest event in Texas. He didn't comment specifically on Apple, specifically on I said that's an ongoing case, but he did comment on what he sees as the dangers of unbreakable encryption. Here's what he said.
The question we now have to ask is if technologically it is possible to make an impenetrable device or system where the encryption is so strong that there's no key, there's no door at all, then how do we apprehend the child pornographer? How do we solve or disrupt a terrorist plot? What mechanisms do we have available to even do simple things like tax enforcement? Because if in fact you can't crack that at all, government can't get in, then everybody's walking around with a Swiss bank account in their pocket. Everyone's going to have to chip in. That's only fair.
Number 8, we will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. For years, Congress has required biometric entry-exit visa tracking systems, but it has never been completed. The politicians are all talk, no action, never happens.
Hey, are you the type like me who has trouble keeping track of your car keys? Well, a Michigan man solved that problem by turning himself into a key. CNN's Jeannie Most reports.
Why worry about losing your car keys when you can take matters into your own hands, literally, with a chip implanted in your hand at a tattoo and piercing parlor?
You can't lose your hand, so you'll always have a way of getting in your car.
Brandon Delali had a local anesthetic injected, then the chip inserted. A few days later, his hand hardly sore. He was hovering over the door pillar to open his Tesla. Though he's been mocked, Tesla bros will single-handedly ruin civilization. Brandon says he's no Elon Musk groupie, but rather...
I'm a huge tech nerd. I work in technology.
What he really wants is for the chip to be updated so the implant will work for credit cards. But till that's possible, he'll settle for starting his Tesla by holding his hand over the console.
I'm getting a lot of comments saying, well, what happens if somebody comes after you and chops off your hand?
Brandon already had a chip implanted in his other hand that allows him to unlock the door to his home. It also holds his contact and medical information, such as COVID vaccinations. It glows green, so you know the phone is reading the chip. Can you show me your lump?
It's hard to see, but you can kind of see part of it kind of pop up on the end right there.
Barely a bump, though he's taking his lumps online. But they don't get to say with a wave of the hand,
Open, O sesame!
Yes, open, O sesame.
Jeannie Most, CNN, New York.
In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system.
Trump. Fred Trump. T-R-U-M-P. And you know what? I heard... Fred Jr., your plane only has one... It's Freddie, my oldest. He's flying a plane with one wing. The head of my throne going round and around. Yeah, hey, look, if you ever get serious about doing business, Walter, give me a call. Otherwise, Walter, goodbye. That was cold, boys. That was a good one. Otherwise, goodbye. You see, you gotta kill, you know? You gotta kill him, okay? Right, Donald? Kill, kill, kill. Where's my lunch? Amy! 'Cause there's no spot I've ever found that could compare to what's there back in my old town.
Center of the world, Dad. I belong at the center of the world.
I'm not good enough, is that it?
I'd still be working for you, Dad, with you, expanding
You're
your...
taking on Manhattan in the middle of an economic recession.
I don't want to live on the outskirts of the Emerald City, Dad. I don't want to be stuck in the suburbs of Oz.
You belong here.
No, I
Tommy.
belong in the city, Dad. I've always belonged. You know, I don't want to be the guy who collects the rent, Dad, okay?
I don't believe it.
Center of the world, Dad. I belong at the center of the world.
I'm not good enough, is that
I'd
it?
still be working for you, Dad, with you, expanding
You're
your...
taking on Manhattan in the middle of an economic recession.
I don't want to live on the outskirts of the Emerald City, Dad. I don't want to be stuck in the suburbs of Oz.
So, Mr. Trump, I read in, articles and stuff about how you recovered from some difficult...
Single greatest corporate comeback in U.S. history.
Okay. You've always, Mr. Trump, compared Manhattan to the Emerald City, to the wonderful land of Oz. So does that make you the wizard?
What are you, in high school? You're in Manhattan?
Yes, Mr. Trump, PS 344.
That might just be the best question I've ever been asked. Does that make me the wizard? Well, sure as hell doesn't make me Dorothy. I mean, come on. She's an idiot. She's in Oz, for God's sake. Most magical place. And all she can talk about is going home. Never got it. Never did.
Get to the negatives. So outline what the risks, some of them are obvious, but outline what some of the risks.
So one of the issues is that I could no longer buy you a cup of coffee without either a private agent or the government knowing about it. And there is certainly a question about whether we should have at least some privacy in our financial dealings without the government, without private parties being able to see them. There is also the potential for some degree of instability. If you do have central banks issuing currencies, it could take commercial banks out of the game in terms of retail payments, and commercial banks are still very important in terms of modern financial systems. So it could create some degree of instability, and we still don't know how it's going to work if you were to have a digital currency, how that would work in terms of the transmission and indeed implementation of monetary policy. It's easy to think about how it would all work much more efficiently, but there are potential bottlenecks that could be created. Then, of course, there is a big risk of hacking. We've seen even very secure systems come to be vulnerable to hacking, and the same could be true of central bank digital currency.
I have a feeling we are not in Washington anymore. Lindsey Graham comparing Donald Trump to the Wizard of Oz. In a Des Moines Register interview, Graham says Trump's immigration plan is gibberish and will undo his campaign. Graham saying, quote, Donald Trump is the almighty Oz in the GOP presidential race right now, but there's really nothing behind the curtain. The more he exposes himself, putting forward solutions that are unworkable, the charm begins to fade after a while when you realize there's nothing behind the curtain.
We have a message from a special guest that I'd like to share with you.
Thank you for being with us today.
There he was on the video screens, pre-recorded, reciting benefits from the tax cut.
These great results are just the beginning.
Trump's giant head at this presser makes me think of the Wizard of Oz. Somebody pull down the curtain.
Do not arouse the wrath of the great and powerful Oz.
But there was no curtain-grabbing Toto.
The great Oz has spoken.
To disturb the stagecraft at the briefing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We need a partner on the issue of North Korea, but the bottom line is this. Donald Trump, in office on trade policy, you know, he reminds me of that guy in The Wizard of Oz, you know, when you pull back the curtain, it's a really small dude.
Okay.
You've always, Mr. Trump, compared Manhattan to the Emerald City, to the wonderful land of Oz. So does that make you the wizard?
What are you, in high school? You're in Manhattan?
Yes, Mr. Trump, PS 344.
That might just be the best question I've ever been asked. Does that make me the wizard? Well, sure as hell doesn't make me Dorothy. I mean, come on, she's an idiot. She's in Oz, for God's sake. The most magical place. And all she can talk about is going home. Never got it. Never did.
There's a need for a utility type service that lets you move money when you want to pay someone else, pay a store, so that you can pay a store no matter if they use the same bank as you do. You can pay your relative in the rural areas no matter if you use a different bank, or if you want to switch your account from bank 1 to bank 2. And so a lot of our work to get this low-cost digital debit card using the cell phone going is making sure the regulator has set up the right safeguards, and that includes a money transfer system that has very low fees that lets, and insisting that every bank that's licensed connect up and have these reasonable fees. It's kind of like phone number portability is in the mobile space, that you can switch a carrier and not have to change that phone number. And so that's why the foundation's role in working with these regulators and taking lessons from different countries will help get this into the most pro-poor form we can.
So let me ask you, because there's another answer to this question. So you're talking about relying on regulatory infrastructure and banks participating, but there are many, many investors and smart people out there who will tell you that the answer to these questions is Bitcoin. So what do you think about Bitcoin as a solution to these problems?
Well, the effort to make sure your Bitcoin provider isn't going to lose your money and your understanding of the volatility of Bitcoin, I'd hardly say that's ready for poor people to have it.
We need to wake up and ask ourselves, what kind of America do we want? I mean, what are we looking at? What kind of future are we going to see? What are we going to see 10 years from now? I mean, we see the popularity among youth, among the younger generation of Bitcoin, Ethereum, all different types of cryptocurrencies. Literally, we're going to exist in a society in which money is digital. Cash no longer exists. It has fallen out of favor. All of these central banks, they are foaming at the mouth with excitement right now. They are in separate rooms, all of them, in a race, trying to beat one another, to come up with a brand new kind of token, coin, whatever they're going to call it, in order to present it to the people as the savior, the knight in shining armor. We're going to live in a country. Not only will our money be digital, not only completely dominated by what they call cryptocurrencies, it might come up with a new name by then, but once the cash is eliminated, we're going to be under strict controls over what you buy, over where you go.
Each blockchain phone comes with its own integrated cryptocurrency smart card connected to the phone's digital wallet. Global charities, ultra-high net worth individuals, members of the public, Fortune 500 companies, governments and corporations can bulk buy sovereign skybox sets and help distribute them to people in need in the world's poorest and remotest part. The modems talk to the phones through their custom-built operating system, and the phone's Instagram-style app and digital wallet connects to each device's cryptocurrency smart card. Once the cryptocurrency collects in the phone's digital wallet, the person in need, hospital or village can then buy medicine, clothes, food or water using their smart card, or send the digital money to anyone who has the Ruon app installed to areas. Each phone will be able to feed an entire village for years on end. Each year, $800 billion is donated to charitable organizations with little effect on extreme global poverty. Up to 97% of sovereign aid donations will go straight to the person in need and will be one of the most efficient donation processes to date. For the first time, donors will know exactly who they are donating to. Large corporations and individuals will use Ruon's Instagram-style profile pages to search for villages, hospitals, charities, and where and who they want to donate money to. Donors can now track how their donations are spent through the Ruon blockchain smart card accounting technology. Donors can see the positive impact their donations have made with photos and thank you videos.
John with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. I have a dream that all men are created
Sueño, hemos estado haciendo cambios políticos.
Ladies and gentlemen. Everyone's going to have to chip in. That's only fair. That's the principle I'll be fighting for during the next phase of this process. And in the coming months, I'll continue also to fight for what the American people care most about.
So this is clearly the British crown. This is a British coin, you guys. This is from 1931, okay? There's also another coin here, 1930. So it's almost as if someone dropped the coin and they're trying to cover it with their foot so that you don't know that they're about to pick it up, type of thing, I think is the interpretation. So the coming days we'll see. But the purpose of this video is just to really clarify that this is a British coin, and this goes to the multiple levels of interpretation of I Pet Goat and the multiple levels of resolutions that are achieved in this animation. And because it is an animation, nothing happens by accident.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
And giving it back to you, the people.
And we give it back to you, the people.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that.
We declare our right on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, when we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary.
This morning, the Trump campaign revealing the endorsement of 88 retired U.S. generals and admirals. The group signing a letter that in part rips the Obama administration. Quote, America's armed forces have been subjected to a series of ill-considered and debilitating budget cuts. With me now is one of the 88 military officials who signed that letter, retired Brigadier General Remo Butler. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Carol. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm good, and thank you so much for being here. Why did you throw your support behind Donald Trump?
I threw my support behind Donald Trump primarily because of some of the military people that he has surrounded himself with. And when I say that, I'm not saying it lightly. I'm saying that Donald Trump has surrounded himself with what I consider military leaders, warriors.
Thank you very much, everybody.
From the Oval Office tonight, President Trump with a wink and a tease.
Thank you very much.
You'll find out.
Revealing no new details about the meaning of this cryptic comment during a reception with military leaders and their spouses Thursday night.
You guys know what this represents?
Tell us, sir.
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm.
Days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, 12 seconds. That is when the world will end.
Well, I want to be a president of the United States to make sure that we never again do business. We never again. I went down there and talked to the president of Panama.
6
about cleaning up their money.
42 minutes, 12 seconds. That is when the world will end.
Basic principles of time travel are there. You got your vessel and your portal. The vessel can be just about anything, most likely a spacecraft.
Like a DeLorean.
Aircraft.
You know, I love that movie, the way they shot it. It's so,
6
like futuristic. You know?
42 minutes, 12 seconds. That is when the world will end.
We were sitting in the theater, waiting for the royals to come in, and I realized that the seat next to me is empty. And then it dawns on me that Princess Diana is going to be sitting next to me. The movie starts, and it occurs to me that I'm like a fake yawn and an arm stretch away from being on a date with the Princess of Wales.
I think it's the best thing that I've ever written. I mean, along with Bob, of course. Zemeckis and Gale really found lightning in a bottle. You probably have one of those in you in a lifetime. Lightning in a bottle tends to stick around for a long time.
Listen, I have kind of a pressing appointment, but I thought you might run into a roadblock, so I asked someone to drop by. Well,
Mike?
sir?
Randall?
Donald. Mr. Trump here wrote The Art of the Deal. Then he wrote a new bestseller, The Art of the Comeback. 2 books.
Wow.
Well, sit down.
Well, that must have been tough coming up with that much material.
No.
Must have been hard getting started, though, right?
First day, 9 chapters.
9 chapters.
You should call your next book The Art of Not Helping.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
You come back and try it again.
Yeah, I guess we. Well, that's a long time. That's a long time. How do you feel about it?
Mars Direct.
You like it direct?
Yes.
It seems to me Mars Direct.
You're impatient.
I mean, who knows better than these people? I mean, you know, they've been doing this stuff for a long time. What about the concept of Mars Direct?
So the challenge is, if we go direct to Mars, there's going to be a lot of things that we haven't yet proven out. We need to think about this. We need to use the resources of another world in order to live and work for long periods of time.
That is Apollyon the Destroyer. Mars, the Roman god of war. And we've got that same representation of the Holy of Holies type thing. And him raising out of it Apollyon the Destroyer. The Antichrist. That is not Jesus. I don't think it takes much to work out that that's not Jesus. That is not Jesus. Apollyon the Destroyer. The Antichrist.
We continue our coverage this morning of Pope Francis in America with Nora at the White House. Nora?
Thank you, Gail. You know, Pope Francis is also going to celebrate his first Mass in the United States, and that is at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. Now, he is the third Pope to visit the Basilica that is on the Catholic University of America campus. And Chip Reed is there to show us what to expect this afternoon. Chip, good morning.
Well, good morning. You know, around here, most people simply call it the Shrine, and it is a beautiful building. It is the largest Roman Catholic church in America. In fact, they're expecting about 25,000 people here this afternoon to see and hear the Pope celebrate Mass.
This is the moment Japan's nuclear disaster began. A giant tsunami wave crashes into the Fukushima Daiichi power plant.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Donald Trump Museum, dedicated to America's #1 citizen and America's greatest living folk hero, the one and only Donald Trump. Learn the amazing history of the Trump family.
Somebody criticized me the other day because they asked me what I do, and I said, I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. It's true. I don't care.
And I guess I have some very good enemies, and I like it that way somehow. And I really believe in trashing your enemies.
Inside, you will learn how Donald Trump's father left him a large inheritance.
Nobody's going to do more women than Donald Trump. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. And I think they know it.
Discover how in 2016 Donald Trump successfully lobbied to legalize gambling.
Part of the beauty of me is that I'm very rich.
He wants to run for president and move on into the White House. Why not?
Share in the stupidity of the average American as they made him the 45th president of the United States.
That will easily go down as the greatest president in the history of the United States. Me, Donald John Trump. No! Hey, no! Hey, wait, you coming with us upstairs? There you go, Sonny. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way.
But a bright line in the sand, and we will protect you, that I can tell you, and we will say enough is enough.
You will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.